Yeah, no. This recording in progress, but I think I said that last week too. So, okay. What we'll be do today is go into the flow state. That's a topic. Now, one of the things that's kind of a contradiction, if you study flow, you're usually not in it. It's tricky, all right? At least whatever experience I've ever had there, right? And anyway, let me, what did I do? Here it is. I think I alluded to it yesterday in the Aikido class. Okay, this is an interview that was done with Stephen Curry, right? A couple of people, associated with media. They put together a documentary which has aired recently on, I think it's Amazon Prime. No, it's Apple TV. I actually, watched it there. So, and so, this is Ryan Coogler, who was, I guess, the director of Black Panther movie. Steph, there's a moment in this documentary where your mom sees you having a great game and says in this whisper, Steph, how are you doing this? It's just a beautiful cut. But seriously, how are you doing this? Okay, this is Curry. All right. I think there's a flow state you get to that's stacked on top of layers and layers and layers and layers. Okay. We have talked about the irrational confidence that comes from the work you put in, the vision of being able to see an output, but not obsess over the output. If that makes sense. In other words, you have an intention, but you lose easy with it. Lose easy with it. You're aiming at the hoop, or making move an Aikido to initiate a blend. Okay. Ever since I started playing, I love to shoot the basketball. And I can see the arc of the shot, I can feel the flow of the ball. And feel the flow of the ball. Okay, I feel the ball, I shoot the ball. Feel the flow of the ball in the air. Strong connection with your uke. You almost feel the ukemi. They're very similar. The joy that comes in that space, like you surprise yourself a lot. In other words, in that flow state, you're open. You're not saying it's got to go in if it's a basketball or I got to throw. It sort of happens. In a flow state for an athlete, that's the top of their game. So an Aikido, ideally should be about teaching us all how to get to our flow state. In that flow state, in a lot of ways, it's almost like, there's no basket. It's just, it's like throwing the ball into the Pacific Ocean. Curry does it from a ridiculous long distances, and they go in. Okay? And you kind of take a log of what that new idea or new move felt like. It's almost like a computer's log. And then it becomes muscle memory. And then it becomes confidence. And that confidence comes out when it's time to perform on the stage. You're able to block out all the distractions, all the noise, even in the basketball game. You've got somebody guarding you, even who's guarding you. There are times you get into that flow state where it does not matter who's in front of you. You find a solution to the problem. The discipline around that is something I'm super proud of. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff in that, but I think it's a pretty good description for both, the fact that you're in a flow state. Okay, and you do prepare. In this case, he shoots a basketball. But we go back to the first part. I think there's a flow state you get to that's stacked on top of layers and layers and layers. In other words, he practices. And then there's the flow state. And irrationally, I think at some level, you don't practice, but you're in a flow state. So all of a sudden something goes great. Then that might inspire you to practice, get better at it. Then you begin to test the flow state, this is. And so, it's an area where layers and layers and layers, preparation, practice, conditioning, learning this, learning that. Okay? And then there's the flow state. Okay? Before we get up and move, which we're going to do pretty quick. Cliff, anything on that? I think I mentioned some of it yesterday, but I'm not back. But,
yeah, it makes sense. It's a pretty good description. I agree. I think the flow state is the same no matter what you're doing, even if it's not a physical thing. Like if you're writing, you can be in the flow state, even though you're sitting at a keyboard or writing with a pen and not, shooting baskets or throwing an uke around or whatever. It's the same. It's the same thing. Or if you're playing music,
Yeah. Good. So, I'm using a shorter. Just pick this up. Now here I am just going to. And again, pretty much layers upon layers upon layers. Okay? So usually do a set all the way through one of the layers. Okay? But what happens sometimes is when you kind of get into that, you oftentimes don't appreciate flow state if it's there at all. And it's always there. That's the whole thing. I think that the flow state is just there, but we're talking about just moving. What are the layers of all this? The change here. There's a turning motion. I'm just standing here with my body kind of like block. No, body turns. So right here, I think the step is on. If I go like this, boom, the whack myself. So I have to create space. Step. Body goes like this, whack. So I open. And then somebody comes at me, so I'm stepping off the line. Not react. So, what I'm doing. One hand. See that two-hand figure eight. Now the two-hand figure eight, so the body's a little bit square, so I'm going like this and using my shoulders. Take a step as a one. Now, let's put a couple of things, layers. I'm holding just, you know, if I'm too square, I'm gonna take a step. Now, step. So I'm going to turn the step. There's motion. Figure eight. Do figure eight. Do that. Okay. Flow state happens. Check myself. I feel free of like control. There's motion. Make it come up. So move a little bit. Any thing you noticed or you'd like to share?
Yeah, and I noticed this last night as well, that I seem to be getting into the flow state a little sooner. Like last night, I managed, instead of waiting 15 minutes for the flow state to hit, it was more like 5.
Yeah, one of the things that I find, for example, I'm thinking about a flow state. I create a little bit of separation. I can't think about flow. Flow is something that flows. Some exercises there. Partially, somebody's coming from behind somebody else on the other side. To stand up. So, I mean, in some sense, okay. You could do all that. Do I remember what I do? No, not really. But I feel looser, easier, freer. Mind usually puts it into your mind. You're kind of shapeless, formless, although what happens is when you're in that flow state, the forms go through you. Change, grip, change, grip, change, grip. You know, figure eight, change, grip, change, grip, figure eight. Reverse the hands and get another cycle going. And if I'm thinking about the flow state, I'm kind of close to it, but it's that thing where, oh, it's close to me. So what you still puts it into you. Or just be easy. Relax. I feel lighter. You can put that in. But I move much more quickly in that flow state than I do when I'm trying to move quick. Oh. Friend like Frank was really tough bebop. Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, well, just that you move more quickly in a flow state because you're not, I mean, you're moving efficiently, right? Uh, you're moving efficiently. In other words, there's not like wasted, jittery movement here and there.
Well, there's two things. One, I tend to move. One, I'm a little too drifty. And the flow state is the flow state. It's right here, right now. Whether you're moving or not. And, there's an area where, again, Curry puts the layers upon layers upon layers. So, yeah, he goes to the training shoots and lift weights and runs and does all these drills. But one of the things that happens is that well, at any moment, you would actually be able to sort of get into a flow state. Right here, right now. So, and one the other thing about a flow state is also when that's a form. It's a form. It's flow state, also a form. You go from the world, this is shapeless forms. And segues pretty quickly into the form. I'm using the lighter one today because a lot of times, we associate I'm going to get my work in. I'm pushing it, that's one of the layers. But and somebody says, what did you just do? They break it up and make it into a content. People, by and large, love the contents, right? They got this purpose. Anything?
Nothing additional at this time, Sensei.
Yeah. See, I'm feeling the flow. The flow state is there. The flow state is there, and it comes through you. And now, it's better movement, more flow to that. The other thing about a flow state is that you're not so aware of time. It's just right here, right now. And the movements may be very quick. But you're not moving, you're not aware that you have to move faster. Right? So that's one of the things, when I'm trying to do this. Yeah, we have to meet schedules outside. But one of the things about Aikido, right? To find a deeper sense of who I am, hang out in that flow dimension. Of course, what happens is that there's a looser, easier, freer sense of who I am. It starts to emerge. That's rigid. Conversely, I can get kind of drifty and miss the flow state. So it's somewhere between determined and somewhere between drift. Just that. Actually, I think not in that article I read that Curry did an instruction video on this training, doing talking about, you know, almost first, almost first. Yeah, that's interesting. It's more, you know, I mean, what we say in Aikido, I'm going to move. He moves before you move. He moves before you move. Or spirit moves. Spirit moves. I'm going to start the movement. I'm going to spirit is here before. So when we kind of get that, it's pretty cool. So, for example, they plan this first, but then the timing, I'm almost at that movement is key, or energy or spirit. It moves and then you move. It moves and then you move. In other words, it leads. It leads. It. Okay. So you know, that's kind of, you know, those are things that I can work on. It's lighter fear. It's not work, W-O-R-K per se. And again, you know, you may, depending on what you're doing, put some work in. I remember Joseph Campbell, the mythologist, who ran track when he was in college. And somebody asked him, what this state was like. And he said, oh, it's like, he referenced the race when he was in college. And he won the race. He just said, right from the beginning, it was that state. And when you're in that state, you don't notice time. Anything?
Absolutely, yeah. The time warp, time vanishing thing is very real, and that's whenever you do anything creative. And I think something like Aikido and karate, when you do it right, and Tai Chi, they're all creative, you know. And writing, music, dance, theater, you know, you can go through a whole experience and it feels simultaneously momentary and forever. And
yeah,
that's, you know, the creative endeavor.
well, our sensei talked about no time, no space. But when you get in the flow state, you have a piece of that. So, you know, sometimes we get so caught up in, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. That's important. There are layers on layers on layers. I thought that part of what Mr. Curry said was really quite good. In other words, it's like, you know, sometimes you just may find, for example, that you have a gift. I remember, you know, my dad put a hoop up when I was a kid. And, you know, I largely didn't do much with it. And then I think I was on the playground or so. The middle school that I was going to, you know, basketball coach, and ride your bicycle over and shoot their outdoor. And then there was this guy, you know, who was taking all these distance shots and making it. And all of a sudden, you know, I start shooting it. You know, I can do that. Well, I can do that. And so, you know, I started going, ooh, the ball. I started, yeah, this is kind of cool, right? So sometimes, you know, when you find something, you go, you have a predilection for it, and just beginnings of the flow state. And that doesn't mean, but you mean, to some degree, get the practice and establish the layers upon layers upon layers that he's talking about. Okay. So, anything else?
No, not right now.
Yeah. So one of the things that I kind of notice a bit, so I'm going to do it quite clearly. I'm going to. Yeah, often you get that easy, you go blind. But then you pre-plan everything, and it's you can't. It's heavy. Now, one of the things is some of this stuff is hard. So you pick up one day shooting school ball, sort of doing it's kind of cool. And the first stage was it money, it's kind of both. Mine has to be. In other words, you're bringing some layer of change. What's that change going through? It's the other way. Change. And you're going to figure it out. That I did. I can feel almost like push-up without drifting. There, for example, it's a form. Flow. And a form. And one of the things I'm learning about is that in the two block. I'm using a shorter one today because I usually do something long, do a little bit more quick. Just slip the bit. The other thing about a flow state, it's something called plane dilation. Reading a little bit about Albert Einstein. And one of the things about it, the faster you go, the slower time goes. So that motion, but it actually feels it's on like there's no. You practice standing, music, breathing things settles into the deeper, find tension, letting go, shoulders, hips are long, knees long, inwards, something like that. You get to allow the two-handed figure. So I like the flow state. And you know, you pick it up by picking up a musical instrument, picking a basketball, or kicking a soccer ball around. Or going to an Aikido class, somebody grabbed your wrist. Okay. Now, one of the things we've been working on lately is trying to figure out will take to me. Somebody holds you, your health, movements, but all of this is okay. Now we can do it with one. The first stage, your mind just naturally adjusts. You feed the other hand. Sometimes it's hard to see from the class video. Now you go, you try to break through them. You don't. So, you can pick it up just literally. It's about that smooth. It's not quite the same thing. But there's kind of feel. Now you have to learn all these moves to get a sense of the flow state. Your own thing, sketchboard, whatever. But obviously, I do this stuff. Like you're right about but I just read the right way. Flow state. There was a great video of Stephen Curry where he gets like three guys get on him on the top of the key. And it's funny because you know, he loses the ball a couple of times. But he's in the state, so when he loses the ball, it confuses the defenders. You know what I mean? It's like he's going to that, he loses the ball. But he's kind of in such a flow when he loses the ball, he finds it, and it confuses everybody, he loses the ball again. Finds it. And so finally, you know, he does something like, you know, it's just that this is the shot clock. He just fades for about 25 feet, throws it up, it goes in. And his coach, Steve Kerr, that they have on camera, he's going like that, because in a lot of ways, you know, it's like artless approach. You can't draw up that play. He loses the ball, and it throws the defender off. In fact, there's three defenders on. They're just trying to, they don't want him to shoot, and the shot clock is running down. And so they're going to try to really lock him up. And he, you know, he loses the ball, but he just goes with the flow. He loses it again. Finally, they don't know what to do, so he steps back and he throws a long shot up, and it's nothing but net. And his own coach goes, because when you're in the flow state, you surprise yourself. That was part of what Mr. Curry said in the interview, you surprise yourself. And you probably really surprised other people. Wow, I didn't know you could do that. And I think those since they lived in that place. But yeah, it's structured. It's not really teach a lot of Taito Yu type techniques. They're pretty specific. And he kept on. And so the flow state is something that we oftentimes, you know, the wrist is well. Oh, there it is. The breakthrough. Oh, good. Now I want to come up with my shoulders. Just my body. We've done that like the last 2 or 3 classes. That's a hard move. Then someone grabs you with both hands. I'm being tied up, so to speak, but I'm also tying myself up. It's a little bit like Curry with those 3 defenders. Bad situation. And you're operating almost in slow motion. But the other people are moving too fast to see. So this is part of my layers and layers. One of the things about the flow state is it's usually in motion and doing something. But it's a kind of a sort of its own sort of transcendent experience. The whole, that's the flow state, then you mess it up because it's right here, right now. And you might have your own avenues, an artist or sketch pen, a musician, an instrument. And play soccer, got your soccer. Baseball, and a baseball hitter, you got your bat. And you know, those are oftentimes artists will tell you it's a creative place, flow state. And of course, there's writer's cramp. And there's also what you call in sports room slump. But a lot of times what happens is that when somebody is in a slump, you know, suddenly they ruin it all. Anyway, Tiffany, can you feel like adding or sharing?
Not that I can think of right now.
Yeah, one of the things about a flow state is you don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't overthink it. Yeah. And sometimes, you know, what you find is you're trying too hard. But when you try to do too much, generally you're blocking yourself. Great left-handed pitcher, Sandy Koufax for the Dodgers. I used to hate him because he used to come in and shut down all the Giants home run hitters, Sandy Koufax. But I read a biography of him, and Koufax was really good. Then he set up then a major league record because he struck out 18 batters. But the problem with him is he didn't know whether he was going to strike out 18 or walk 18. And you know, he could throw about 100 miles an hour. A fastball would come in like this, and a curveball would come in the same neighborhood like that. And he didn't really need much more than those 2 pitches, right? But what happened is, you know, I think it's spring training, and you know, he's getting his birthday. It's not a birthday. And he walks the bases loaded. It's a hot day in Florida or somewhere. And so his catcher, Norm Sherry, goes out and says, "Come on, son, just come out here. You know, just get your work in. Put it over there. Throw some strikes. We got to get back in the dugout. It's too hot." And so Koufax takes the ball, throws everything down, and strikes the side out. And so he goes back in the dugout, and Norm Sherry says, "Sandy, I don't know if you know this or not, but when you're not trying to throw fast, you're actually faster because you have quote unquote control." And that was the start of Koufax making the Hall of Fame on the basis of 5 years. Okay. So it's something like, this is what it feels like. I've been working way too hard. So, not get lazy. And then, sort of started studying pitching a little bit. Sort of became, I guess, I mean, still alive, really. Became kind of a pitching guru, other people. So, I mean, when he was pretty old, and he goes up to somebody and says, teach me how to throw a split finger fastball. So he was just fastball through. So somebody teaches him, how to throw a splitter. And then general manager, I mean, Kovacs is old at this point. He's still throwing, I mean, 90 miles an hour. And the guy says, that you pitch, you come in and be the closer for us. And of course, he didn't do it. But, there's an area where he's still throwing in the 90s, low 90s, not upper 90s to 190. But he's a lot older, right? So again, there's a certain area where, if you understand the flow state, to some degree, you can defeat aging to a degree. Okay? So, I mean, that was, I see these videos of Shiva founder doing all this stuff, and he was old. So I thought, this is kind of cool. Because most, athletics and stuff, as you get older and you decline. And he was just steady. Whoa, it seemed like he was old. Okay. So anyway, let's see. So we have, for example, filling step 1, 4, 6, 7, 10. 16, 17, 18. Seven. That's kind of been, part of what Stephen Curry called the layers and layers and layers and layers. So, memorizing, what's the layer? But one of the things I kind of wanted to mention were a couple of things that go this way, this way, this way. And the other one is really, this way, this way, this way. The hands together. It's a two-hand figure eight. Well, anybody can kind of figure eight. Two-hand figure eight. The hands a little closer. Now, the second part, you go from the first part is all we call first change, then space away. You go to the second change, the third change, even the fourth change. And then there's a fifth change. The fifth. But, for example, I'm starting two-hand figure eight, first change. Now, position, thumb space, two-hand figure eight, second change. Two-hand, second change. Now, in position, the left hand is the thumb space, and two-hand, third change. So a lot of what I'm doing here is really working two-handed figure eight, sometimes reverse hands. There's the other direction. What I find is that the third change, the thumb space, gives you the freest figure eight No, it's in good position. We're just doing this change. So we kind of go over things. Smoothly. 5, 6, 7, 8. Now this is the second change. Hold on. 6, 7, 8, 9, 20. Now this is the fifth change here. 1, 3, 2, 4, 6, pitch. The ball pitch. Pitch. Full circle. That changes a lot. This one. Those are just a couple of things. As you kind of do that, you have to experiment. Try this change, that change. And that's part of the layers. Layers upon layers. So be able to do, repeat it as far as that sort of it. But you don't, again, Einstein said it, you don't want to memorize anything. You know what to do, okay, just go into the body clearly. Then you can repeat that, but not from a rigid place. And then from there, For example, or mentions if your body's too square, trying to make changes. So right here, so we're forming a triangle. Body's too square. Forming a triangle. So when I'm going this way, each of those steps is a triangle. Because if it's square, of course it allows that. And what happens in the movements? First set, in the chart. And the skateboard is cracking it up. And keep going. And the thrust, it's a lot, but on the other one, the hips turn that way, the thrust turns into the spiral. And also, you go this way, you see it's closed again. Your body's trying to believe something, squeezing through that breath. And then you get freer. So I'm going to put it second head. Potential time. So that's kind of how the 30 what I find a lot of times is that people are in the set and layers upon layers upon layers. They get stuck in it. They do it better. They memorize it. It becomes a prison. So what you're doing is you're learning block first thing, triangular movement of the body. Second set of changes. First set of things all comes away. Second change. Third change. Fourth change. Now the fourth change is, we're not doing the fancy stuff with the fourth change. But that's really grabs your wrist. It's the movement before the actual movement. And then and what is that last one? It's this one, isn't it? I don't want to go like that and hit myself in the face. And then you get to the third change, and you get the change there. Here you go. And then what you do is you see change. Somebody's funny. So this is a little bit of commentary, but anything you may have noticed.
Just that it's kind of convenient that the form ends in third position, and in a way that sort of invites continuing movement.
Yeah. Oh, basically the way I would put it, the flow state is not necessarily the movement from the flow state is continuous, isn't it? I mean, in the case of Mr. Curry with that one grade exchange, three guys are trying to tie him up. He loses the ball, but it throws them off, not him. He just says, okay, the flow state continues over here. And the flow state, now, okay, I better shoot it before the shot clock goes off, and it's nothing but net, and this coach goes. I can't believe that. That's ridiculous. And Steve Kerr is one of the best three-point shooters in NBA history. Warrior coach, Curry's coach. I don't believe it. See, you surprise yourself. So, one of the things that Albert Einstein said is very important. To live with a sense of awe. You're in awe of kind of like the wonder and the beauty of the universe. Where you're in awe of what can unfold through you. If you say, I am the flow state, you put a cap on it. Maybe you're touching the course, I am that state, but then it gets a little too egotistical, right? And Curry kind of says this at the end, right? And, one of his teammates is Draymond Green. They're both leaders, but they lead totally different ways. Draymond's a get-in-the-face guy. And Curry, just by example, he says, Draymond Green always said, I have an ego when it comes to that. It's not so much like, look at me, but I want to keep doubling up on what I'm able to do because I enjoy it that much. He's really talking about doubling up. He's really talking about staying in the flow state. Why is he saying double up? Because the ego gets pretty satisfied. Oh, look at what I did. And what happens is when you do that, you put a cap on it. Flow state is pretty much infinite. I mean, I haven't gotten to a sense of this with the flow. It showed us that a lot of things we're tapping so little of our true potential. And, you know, from that flow state, you kind of saw things like universal law and the world was one family that was, and it's gotten increasingly dysfunctional, but it was still dysfunctional at this level. But Aikido, and it's something that would bring the world to realize that it is one family. So, you know, there's an area where there's ego there, but the ego is smart enough not to get it in the way. Because when we say, I, you put a cap on that first. You may ride that cap for a while. There's so much more. So, kind of towards the end, Cliff, anything you can add or feel like saying?
Nah, you know, I think I've said enough today.
Yes. Well, what does your body feel like, let's say, now versus the beginning of class?
It feels more balanced.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, and more relaxed.
Okay. Good. What does your mind feel like? What are the thoughts going on in your head? As opposed to when you start, before you started class.
They're less running around.
Yeah. I mean, you don't stop thinking, but you don't also get caught up in your thoughts. There's kind of a real wonder is probably one of the best words, right? The wonder. And that's really what, in other words, you surprise yourself. And you keep surprising yourself. And that's a very healthy state to be. It's once you're open and open. And so again, Curry has an ego, but it's under control. It doesn't let the ego take over the flow state. Okay? So essentially, you might call that the Soviet factor. Putting away the I. As the I starts to get increasingly easy to itself, the slow state can emerge from there. Never recognize that. Okay. Anyway, we kind of towards the end. And so a couple of things. We will be in Mountain View on Sunday. The class the following week is the same day as the CAA meeting. And this year it's going to be in San Francisco. It's always on the last Sunday of August. And the only time in the recent memory it wasn't was when Goshu visited in 2019. So they didn't want people to travel for the meeting and then have to travel for the Goshu event. So they just didn't have it. So we're going to close Sunday, which I don't particularly like. I'm a sport association, and encourage people either to go to the meeting, which is in San Francisco, or support it by signing up and doing it. So anyway, that's the other announcement. So hopefully see you on Sunday. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sensei. See you Sunday.
Yeah, let me check and see if it recorded.
It looks like it's still going.
Yeah,